Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. All right. Um, where do I get? Here we go. Share link. Yes. 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 Somebody will have to tell me. Someone's gotta tell me what the quality is like. If anybody ever shows up. Hey, Tech. Hey, Tech, while you're here, you're gonna be my, not my test dummy, that's not the right word, but you're gonna help me, check the audio balancing. And also, I switched this to low latency. So I don't, it said, like, no playback, stuttering, or anything like that. Uh, let me know what quality it lets you view the stream in. Because I don't know. Um, how. Oh, wait a second. Hello? Okay, no. The mic is working. I pulled up OBS and it made it seem like nothing was happening. How's my day been? First off, Tech, can you hear me? Help me with that first. Somebody confirm I can be heard. I wish there was like a more effective way to check audio stuff before I started streaming, instead of like figuring it out when I go. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if somebody else wants to help me figure out if it's loud enough, that'd be great. This is a once I know that the audio is fine, you guys can hear me. Audio is fuzzy. What oh man, what playback quality is it letting you see the stream in? I can hear you, but fuzzy. Okay. It might have something to do with the quality of the stream itself, because I selected low latency, which I imagine lowers the stream quality so you guys don't have to buffer as much. I don't think it's necessarily a connection issue on my end. But let me know. Let me know what quality you can view the stream in, and then I can kind of go from there. The game is very loud in my ears. So I'm just gonna turn it down a little bit because the Elgato records the fucking game volume at plus 1,000. It feels like 1080, but it looks like 720. What? But streaming 720 is recommended. That's much better than anything I can do. So here, while you guys are here, all 6 of you, I'll tell you a little bit about lighting in Halo 5. And for anybody who doesn't know, I am a 2-time map and matchmaking creator and a map curator, so I know how this shit works. A lot of people, when they do their lights, they have a tendency to stick to white light. And I'm kind of cheating here because you see I'm using a white light. You're not supposed to do that, mainly because it's too harsh. When you do a white light, or yeah, see, look, I just tricked myself. This is just the color of the object. My light actually is not white. The light is eggshell. Um, and the brightness is turned way the fuck down. Uh, when you're doing lighting in Halo 5, a lot of people have like this idea that if you just turn the shit all the way up, it'll be better. But if you see I do this, and then if I go in and bake it, it's gonna look kind of goofy. Yeah, I mean, this is just ridiculous. And I see a lot of maps all the time that do shit like this because people assume, oh, if I want my space to be well lit, I need a fuck ton of light. And that's just not the case. So we'll go ahead and switch that back to 7. And if I bake it again, it's just much more easy on the eyes. So yeah, if you're ever doing lighting and you want what you would have like a realistic soft light is what they'd call it if you bought it at the store. Eggshell is good to use. Even like tan. The rest of these colors in this little section are fine, and you get a similar result from them. I also, and a lot of forgers do this, but I don't. All the time, I don't let, like you see here, I've got maybe 6 lights in this room. And some people would put one of these emitters at each light, and that's just overkill. I actually just have the light emitters in the middle of the row of lights, because 3 will get the job done, and it'll make a much flatter coat on your map in terms of lighting. What should you chroma keying eggshell is the best, right? It depends on the map that you're on. Actually, here I'll show you. We are on Barrens. This is not, so just disclaimer. If you're chroma keying, if you're a machinima person, I would not recommend doing your chroma keying on a map with a dynamic change in light unless you're keying that character into a scene that's also in this environment. Like if my environment in the shot is like in the middle of the day, clearly don't do it on a map like this. If I get a chroma, the first big thing you want to try to do is match the face of the chroma screen with the source of the light on the map. Now luckily, if you're using any map except title, it's pretty easy to recognize where the light's being emitted. If you use title, this is something forgers know. The light emitter on title is not the sun. It's like some random ass location. Like on title, the sun is over here, and what emits the light is like way up there. But on Barrens, you can see that my chroma screen is getting a really flat coat of light because it's directly facing the sun. And if I turn the chroma, depending on what goes on, you can see where the chroma starts to change shade. And if I were somebody, I would chroma with only the natural map light hitting your stuff, because if I pull this back out, let's go to the dark side of the chroma screen. Fucking lights. You can immediately see how the coat is no longer even. And that's, I mean, it's really hard to get a really even coat because of the way Halo 5 interprets the light. And the stream might be too gritty to see this, and I hope it's not, but there's a radial series of shading lines on the chroma screen from the light emitter. And that's pretty much going to be the case regardless. I can get this really close, which makes the radials a little thicker and maybe, easier to separate, but I would just recommend sticking to letting the map lighting shoot on your chroma because it's going to be much flatter, much cleaner, much easier to key in your program. Yeah. Question. Actually, here, I'll show you something. I hope no, I didn't make any changes, so there's no real reason for me to save. I'm going to put the stream on Twitter really quick. Really quack. Un momento, por favor. I don't expect it to be like a huge turnout or anything. Um, just it's nice to let people know what I'm doing. Okay. Let me see if I have a map where I can kind of talk about that question a little more in depth. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll use one of the maps from Lineage. If I can remember which one it is. I have a lot of maps kind of like haphazardly named. Uh, fuck. One of these. The one I've never heard it before, but when you switch through, it like makes your little ear buzz. I think it was this one. Probably, possibly, hopefully. I'll post this in the good old habitat, so A star can tell me not to. Alright, and if someone wants to let me know what's up with like if the audio still sounds really fuzzy, like I don't know what that means, and I can't, actually, hold on, wait for some repeat as I listen to myself. So A star can tell me not to. Oh, I know what you mean, like you guys can hear. That's a folly with this fucking headset, is that I have to really ramp up the recording volume in order for people to hear me very well. Kind of crappy. Alright. So this was one of the sets from Lineage. And this is the kind of answer you see here. I had to use a fake light to illuminate my chroma screen. And in this scenario, it wasn't a problem, but I had to make sure, like when I was recording, and I even have my old like indicators for where the people should stand. Like, from the perspective I was at, there it was a pretty even coat for chroma. But had I tried an angle like this, which I did have an angle like it, and I had to kind of finagle with that, it gets much harder. Because of that crease there, and I could have probably deleted this. But yeah, usually if you're gonna key a character into any scene, always have the primary scene and the chroma spot be on the same map, because it's gonna make your job a whole lot easier because you won't have to color match as much. But yeah. Okay. So with that, I don't even know if Lawman stuck around to hear the answer to his question, but hopefully he did. I'll go back to working on that map. If anybody else has any pressing questions, they can feel free to ask. I will do my best to answer. I don't really know where else to post stream. I also wonder how much of a, like, I wonder if what I see on the left hand side is like real time for you guys, or if it's like my own version of out of sync compared to what you guys see. I have no idea. Used to stream way back when on Twitch, and I don't do that anymore because it was getting a little stressful and I didn't have time. Uh, since I've got, a fairly well established YouTube base, I think if I stream at all moving forward, it's gonna just be on YouTube because it's just more simple for me. I don't feel like breaking up my audience any more than I already have across different platforms. It is. It is a little complicated. It's decently complicated. And a lot of it is just kind of learning how to manipulate the tool to make it easier to use. It's not so much about like using everything they can do. It's just about finding what it does well and taking advantage of that. Anyway, so this map is another. If you play Halo 5, you would know that social hangout maps are pretty popular. And a guy messaged me. I have one that's really popular, like a couple thousand downloads and plays. It's an apartment, and a guy messaged me the other day, like the other week, and asked me to make another one. So I've been working on a new one. I'm going for like this brownish, like chic, not like almost a homey feel, but still kind of modern, futuristic type deal. So I'm using Barons this time to kind of take advantage of. Barons has really good lighting, probably some of the best natural lighting you can get in Halo 5. One of the few maps that produces rays like this naturally, God rays. So I'm kind of at a stopping point with the map because I've got this hallway and I don't know what other rooms I want to add to this place. So the bathroom, I guess I haven't really finished yet. So I guess I might decorate the rooms a little bit. If you guys have an idea of a room that would go like on a really fancy like high-rise apartment, we'll see. See if I can make that into something real. So I'm open to ideas if you guys have any. For now, I think I might just kind of throw some shit on the walls and on the shelves and whatnot, kind of like decorative stuff. On that first apartment map, a lot of the stuff I had around it was like references to my old maps. So like even on this one, this is a little cube from my Vex maps. On the other map it was stationary. On this one you can kind of push it around and play with it. If you guys, on my other one, here's the other big thing too. I'll show you the arcade machines. On my old map, there's these arcade machines, and if you interact with them, they take you to little mini games. And I'm kind of trying to work on some new ones for this map. Over here, I've got something going on. This is going to be one of the mini games with skee ball. So the premise is pretty simple. Hit the ball, hope it goes into a hole. If it doesn't, you suck. If it does, a little chime will go off. I think maybe I can trigger it manually. This one, seeing this stream might break kind of some of the magic for Forge for you, because you'll see kind of like behind the smoke and mirrors. Go the fuck in there. Yeah, so like that, like a little thing went off and then it just died. The problem is I cannot get these stupid balls to despawn. They sit down here in the black void forever, which is a problem because if you know anything about Forge, having a bunch of round objects is like suicide for your map. Maybe add a shooting range of sorts in the room you haven't planned. Yeah, maybe. I was thinking about a shooting range, either like a shooting range arcade game, or just like in the house. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do it as part of the house. But yeah, Forge does not like round objects. It has to do with polygon count. If you've ever been on a Forge map and it's like the frame rate is really bad, chances are it's because there's too many polygons and your Xbox is struggling to get everything set in place properly. It's kind of like the abbreviated way to think about it. I'm sure somebody would give you a much more long-winded explanation, but you can just kind of think of it as round equals bad. I will grab those balls if you're not careful. Ooh, wait. I have an idea. What if I did the shooting range like it was like on a back deck? Oh, but the problem is like I gotta keep players from. Here's like Forger Goal 101. You never want to break the immersion on your own map. Like effectively, you want the player convinced that the map is bigger than the playable space, if that makes sense. You always want the player to assume there's, what's the word I want? You just want them to think that there's more to the map than just what they can access. So if I do it outside, I might have the problem of them seeing that there's nothing else around, which might be weird. But maybe I can like have a small back deck access and have some stuff off in the distance. Shit, I don't know. I do like the shooting range idea. I think I might go for it. I just gotta decide what direction I want to steer the apartment in. Is the big thing. Let's do that like that. Because I want it to like look and feel like a shooting range too, so it needs a good amount of space. Hey, Spartan. Then for those that are just joining, if you have questions about Forge, sorry, I like made a queef noise there. If you have questions about Forge or anything in general, like you're curious about, feel free to ask, because I guess that's part of the thing with chatting, is that if you have questions and shit, don't be afraid. I was explaining lighting earlier to Tech and to Lawman. Yeah, exactly. You don't want the player to ever feel like, past the map boundary is just the rest of the canvas. Dark Souls broke. Yeah, you kind of shout of luck if your right bumper doesn't work in Halo 5. Let's get a smaller wall piece. I think what I'll do is kind of section out the shooting gallery. Ooh, I'm gonna have it be like a downstairs component. What you making? An apartment map. It was requested by somebody who messaged me, and actually this person has not stopped messaging me about this map. They're like, every time I appear online, they're like, hey, is that map done? Here, I'll show you. It's this guy. Way back here, he's like, we make an apartment. And I was like, yeah. And then he just keeps like, just keeps bothering me about it. I'm like, bro, like, I already agreed to make the map. Like, just leave me alone. I'll work on it, I promise. How do you go about choosing a map that's mostly closed interiors? There's two schools of thought. And I talked about this kind of earlier. I picked Barrens for this map because this skybox setting is fucking awesome. This is one of the few skybox settings that produces God rays, like you can see here, and you can see here, and especially if I go in through here, like that. So not having to work really hard to make the skybox look nice is a huge benefit. It saves me pieces, saves me time and effort. The other school of thought is that you pick something like title at daytime, because the lighting is really even, and all you do, if you want full control of the light on your map, what you do is you create what we call a dark box, and basically you would take a bunch of these, and you would set them to, which direction do I want to go? Fuck. Yeah. You set the whole thing to black. And this is I talked about this in my lighting video in Halo 5. If you set something to emissive, that obviously that's bright as shit. Ironically, the darkest piece you can get is an all black emissive with light bake turned off. I mean, like, this is like, if you look down, there's nothing. There's no discernible features. That decaling that was on this piece before is gone. And what you do, essentially, is put your map inside a box constructed of these. What this will do, and I'll even give you a short demonstration here. And you'll see that I have my arcade game in a dark box down there. Sorry, I'm lying. It's so dark you can't even see like the fucking magnet connections. Like, if I do this, can you tell that there's like multiple pieces? No, like you can't even see where one starts and one ends. I do something like this. I get this up here, and we're gonna go ahead and seal her up in a second. I mean, obviously, like, this already is ridiculously dark. Like, you can't see anything. So I'll get a simple block. Do it like that. And we'll get, like, a smaller one. Cool. So what I'm going to do is take the box. Select all the pieces, and I'm just going to make this an object so I can move it all together really quick. Okay. I'll render this light. You'll notice that when I bake lights, a shadow is cast onto here. The way Halo 5 works is that it's going to constantly try to interpret how one item affects another for the most part. Now, if I'm building a map inside, and I don't want, for example, the sun on title, which shoots from somewhere over here, to be creating shadows on my object, what I can do is take her, put her in there. Let me get myself in there. Seal it up. That was a little ominous just now, the way that closed. Where is... Oh, shit. There's this. We need a light. You can't even fucking see. Okay. And here, the light is completely and utterly dependent on artificial lighting. Nothing from outside is penetrating this. It's hitting this solid black body and stopping. You see my seam is a little imperfect, so you can actually see where that breaks as it runs along there. But, yeah. Dark boxing is a really useful tool for having complete control over the lighting on a map. I mean, like, in the purest sense of the word. There's basically no other way to make it so you have full control of the lighting. And I mean, you can just kind of see by me moving this around what it looks like. What would I like in Halo Infinite Forge? God, that's a loaded question. What would I like? I think you can definitely count me in on the group of people who want AI in Forge. I think having even something as simple as, like, not even like enemies you'd have to fight, but just like if I could have birds fly across my map, that'd be cool. I would like some improvement on the lighting capabilities. You know, a lot of people criticize lighting on Forge maps really harshly, which to a degree is fair. A lot of Forge maps do not have very impressive lighting. Now, often that's by design. Having really good lighting in Halo 5 is basically the same as saying, you know, I want to have issues with performance on my map. So Forgers have to make sacrifices. So I would like the lighting engine to be improved, and then also done so in a way where we don't have to constantly play a game of what can I do and what can't I do on my map. I want every tool that has appeared in Halo 5 to come back in Halo Infinite, and that includes duplication, grouping, welding. I'd like to see scripting improved. For the most part, I just want an improvement on what we already have. And then any additional tools that they feel can be added without sacrificing performance, without sacrificing the quality of Forge maps, I'll take. Macho did an interview with me about like what I want in Forge, and I'd said the big part of what I wanted is that 343 could basically give us Forgers anything extra. Like anything is fine. And no matter what they give us, we'll take it and we'll use it. Like there's no doubt. We're not going to get a tool and be like, oh, I don't want that. No Forger is going to say, I don't want that extra thing to make my map better. But if they're going to give us something, just make sure it works, There's a lot of stuff in Halo 5 that's really good and really cool, but there's flaws with it. You have to play around with it and make it work. And when you're constantly fighting against the map that you're making, it's almost kind of depressing because it makes forging a chore. But yeah, that's my long-winded response on that question. So here's what I'm doing with that gun range idea. I think I'm gonna have this be like a short little staircase that loops back down and around, and the firing range is kind of going to be its own space on like a lower floor, I think is how I'm going to do it. Kind of tucked away in one of this, like in the interior space. I think might be the best way to go about it. I want to do a window here, I think. Probably no, because you can see that. You know what we'll do? I want something kind of like cool and like almost futuristic in that space. I hear my phone vibrating a lot, so let me fucking grab that. What's going on? No one's dying, are they? No. Someone, I think, is messaging me on Twitter. Okay. Let me go ahead and bake this space really quick. Looking pretty patchy in here. Where'd this light come from? Oh, I know where. This was already here. This is one of the hallway lights. Yeah. Let me go ahead and take one of the room lights. I kind of want the color to be a little different in here. I want something... if you guys have played Destiny 2, and I'm going to sound like a poser, but if you've played Destiny 2, that space Titan, the Aquadome or whatever the fuck that place is called, that's like under... It's not... it is underwater, but it's kind of like a city inside that dome type thing. There's this part of that space that I always thought was really cool, where there's like this big blue like advertisement screen, and it kind of lights up the whole area, like it's the only thing emitting light in that space. I think I might try something like that in this little staircase room, just to make it a little more interesting. Grumpy, how do you make a map look detailed? Many people I've seen who try to make maps for the look very flat and open. That is a great question. And actually, one of the big things, flat and open, it's funny that you bring that up, because flat and open isn't just a problem with machinima maps, it's a problem with people's Forge maps in general. And you can kind of boil it down to this, and once I place this other trim piece, I'll talk about what that is. Okay, how the fuck do I get out of here now? Okay. Scaling. Some people think that canvases in Halo 5 are too small. I don't know if you guys are good with perspective, but I'm at one corner of Barrens, and there's the other corner way the fuck over there. And it would take me forever to get there. Halo 5 Forge canvases are massive. They're much bigger than Halo 4's. they're not, they're not Forge World, but they're still fucking huge. And people don't have a good natural perception for scale. For reference, let me show you about the size of a Spartan, right? Okay. We'll take the smallest block you can make. We'll take two of them and about halfway through a third one. Let me get this and put it near the ground. Okay. Well, we'll go a little, maybe the measurement was 3. Yeah, it's like 3 and then a little bit of a fourth one, my bad. But still, about 4 forge units. And when you're designing a map, you always kind of want to assume the player is bigger than what they actually are. But if you see here, that's about how big a Spartan is. Roughly 3.5 of the smallest forge block. Now, when people make maps, they have a tendency to go to fucking, floors. And they're like, oh, they get this and like, oh, this looks like small, like a bed. They're still in, Forge bot mode. They've got nothing on the map. They look at this. They're like, oh, 8, this is the smallest one. It must be really small. And like, I want my map to be good size. So they come down here to like 64 by 64. A pretty common, Forge unit measurement. 64 by 64, for reference, space-wise, is that. That's how small a Spartan is inside of 64 by 64. And, when people are making maps, they have a tendency just to kind of float around in monitor mode and build, and then before you know it, you've made your whole fucking map out of these things, and it's massive. For comparison, when you're building a 4v4 map for matchmaking, and if you go in, and you can do this in Forge and check the math yourself, all the 4v4 maps fit in about this area. Either 1.5, 256 by 256, or about 2 of them, depending. The more vertical a map is, the smaller it gets in perimeter. But just think about that. This is an entire map right here. And a lot of people go in and they're just railing these pieces out. And they're like, oh, my map's got to be, this size and yada, yada, yada. And they're building all these levels and all these fucking, components to it. And before you know it, you've gone outside of this general perimeter, but you've also made it much taller than it needs to be. And I barely raised those pieces, and you can just see, look how how high above me that is. But when you're in Forge mode, that doesn't look that high up. So yeah, the first big one is scale. You just gotta have a good idea of how big a Spartan is. And if you ever need one, just stack 3.5 of these blocks together. Detail was the other question, and so this map's not that done yet, but I can kind of show you here. Detail often has more to do with combining things that already look a certain way with something else. For example, this light rig here. I could have just did these 2 lights and attached them to the ceiling, and that would have been it. But just by adding 1, 2, 3 extra pieces, I've changed the geometry of what I was trying to make. I've made a new shape. And in doing so, I've created interest in what's going on the map. Same with these lights. I could have just had this, but then I added a little shade or a cuff around it, and it changes the geometry a bit. This map's, still fairly new. I haven't really gone into nitty-gritty detailing, but that's kind of a gist idea. Same with, if you look around this map, I've got trim on where the floor meets the wall. That's a big thing people forget, is that in reality, your floor and your wall aren't just like flush connected like that. There's usually some layer of separation, especially by color. So just kind of thinking about those small things in reality that do it. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'll show you probably one of my more detailed maps. It has a lot of good examples of how you can do good detail without, like, some people think it has to be really hard or complicated, and like you have to use a gajillion pieces to make something look good, and it's usually not the case. You can get away with using one or two extra pieces to make your stuff look much more detailed. I just gotta go back and find this map. Here we go. Adding character to, yeah, that's a good example. You know, when we're forging maps for matchmaking, we want to think about callouts. In Halo 5, you can put those zones down that have like names. Like I can have a part of my map be called Red Balcony, and that's cool. But we like more readily want the player to walk into a room and be like, oh, like this is green, or you know, oh that's steam room. Or that's fish. Players kind of naturally interpret your spaces, and if you can maybe make your space unique in a way where callouts are possible, that's a big thing. Yeah, it's adding character to a room. And Halo 5 kind of really plays it by the book. If you think about the matchmaking maps, they usually have some visual quirk that lets you distinguish them from other parts of the map. Okay. So this was a map I was working on and abandoned because I kind of lost interest in it. I have to remember how to get inside this map because I think I closed it. Okay, now here we go. We're gonna go ahead and bake our lighting really quick. It's gonna take a second because this map's fleshed out. Yeah. So this was a ship I was doing that was really inspired by that first mission in Halo 4, where you're in the Forward Onto Dawn, or it is the Forward Onto Dawn. I'm pretty sure. I was trying to kind of mimic how that looks in Halo 4 and take it into Halo 5. And you would look around at some of this and you would think like, oh, it's got to be a fuck ton of pieces, but not really. Like this is one piece. And I just made up this roof corridor with this one accent piece. Or, and you know, this is really flat here. I broke up this flatness with another accent. This is like a little screen. It's just 3 pieces. It's this cover. It's a bench. This is actually the civilian bench. And then a little blue emissive beneath. This is supposed to be like one of those, I don't know what they're called technically, like one of those Pillar of Autumn type, not Pillar of Autumn, one of those Forward Onto Dawn type ships. Kind of broken up and dispersed. So you just kind of take small things, and if you feel like, you know, you get a lot of flat space, maybe break some of it up. This floor was seeming too flat, so I was like, oh, well, maybe part of it's exposed. Maybe some panels have been removed. I have this door open on its own. It opens 2 ways instead of 1. Kind of in a futuristic sense, and it'll close on its own in a second here. Yeah, like that. My roof here, you know, the roof was too flat. I was like, well, let me run some piping, some conduit over it. I'll throw some steam out, you know, the place is damaged. This was just a regular wall. I was like, I wasn't digging it, so I used 2. These are actually platforms that are meant to be like raised and lowered, and I just have them sideways. An elevator shaft. Elevator's busted. Smoky down there, but you can still traverse this space fairly easily. I wasn't very happy with that jump. Or what turned me away from this, and then you turn it back here. Same here. Floor paneling exposed. This door is kind of living. It's it adds some life to the map on its own. You go in through here. These are active. You have a lighting change. This area has been locked off. It's frozen over. Got some steam, some mist falling. This door is jammed. Stuff like that. Instead of using a regular wall, this is a bridge piece. Same, these are those little ramp pieces from earlier. So it's just stuff like that, you know, broken pipes where moisture had built up and began to fall. The problem with machinima is often, like, and I'll even go out here and I'll show it. I have like some smoke that comes out when this door opens. I can have a really detailed space, but when I'm recording, that detail kind of gets thrown away. Especially if I dial in on like a closer shot, you don't really see the big picture, you just kind of see the visage. So, you know, if you're making a machinima and you can kind of arrange your scene in a way where the detail is shown, then yeah, go and take that route. Sometimes it's not always the case. I really like this. This is kind of like an insignificant thing, but it's one of my favorites. Instead of just letting the wall be flat, it indents, and then the indent geometry changes. This is slanted at an angle and then runs on. There's pipe kind of covered with an overhang. Just kind of nerdy shit like that I'm into. You have this end cap here that also has a similar change to geometry. So, yeah, this map didn't get that far. The layout wasn't turning how I wanted. This was not going to be a fun map to play. So, here she rests. Yeah, good question. Good question all around. My very a lengthy, very blown out answer. Any other maps that good examples of like detailing and shit? Oh, okay. So here's another one. This is a trick I really like, and some of you guys might be familiar with Wyvern Zoo. She's an extremely talented forger, probably one of the most notorious forgers in the community. It was supposed to be a 2v2 or a 1v1, but I mean, Keyloker, you could probably see the layout was donut to the max and just not going to be interesting. But if you've seen a Wyvern Zoo map, she likes to do something that I call, what's a good way to describe it? You want to hide the map from the player. And that seems kind of weird because you're working, you're putting all this time and effort into making the map look good, and then I tell you, all right, now make it so nobody can see it. That's partially because, at distance, stuff in Halo 5 kind of doesn't look good. It looks a little weird sometimes. And Wyvern kind of picked up early that if you can kind of blur the player's view at distance or even up close, things just tend to look better. It's more dramatic. It's more cinematic. So I was talking about Destiny 2 and how I really like that place on Titan. This space was directly influenced by that little entryway into that area on Titan. And you see, it's all about deception. I want the player to think that this keeps going. So I lead my geometry out there. And in fact, this does keep going until about when you can't see it anymore. But I want to deceive the player into thinking there's more going on, and I obscure their vision. That's another big trick with forging, is that you kind of want them to see what you want them to see. You don't want them to see anything else. If you don't make the map and you're like, oh shit, I hope they don't fucking see, this. I've got cylinders sticking out here. You better find a way to mask it, to hide it from the player. So I just want to pull people's attention. I'm using the light and the shadows to cast an interesting shade on this overhang here. And you can't necessarily see where it attaches to the walling. Same here, there's an overhang. You can see kind of like this is going up to the ceiling, but where? Where is the ceiling? I can't quite tell. So stuff like that is just good for your spatial design, for player manipulation is what I like to call it. This was going to be like an elevator thing that runs down. I was going to have another one kind of be over there so you could see the elevator part way through. Yeah, man, thanks for hanging out. No problem. The only thing I love, it's talking about bullshit. Alrighty. Yeah, same here. Like, and I'll just for the love of God, don't let me save this, but I'll turn off the fog really quick. And like, in my humble opinion, it just doesn't look as good. I'll turn down the thickness on the distance fog as well. And yeah, I mean, this is kind of what the map would come at by default. Like, now you can really tell that this isn't this isn't what we want the players to see on our map, you know? Look at all that. And if you notice, this is my emissive trick again. This is an emissive piece set to 0. But yeah, so using fogs and sightline manipulation to trick the player into not knowing how big the space is pretty key as well. And I mean, even over here, you see it really changed how this space looks. I mean, it's entirely different now. But yeah. Let me forge. I took everything in my power. I'm a seasoned forger, so the moment I touch my fucking X button to do anything, I'm auto-saving with the select button. Aw. You're gonna break my heart, Keyloker. I am too. I make shit. Like, I hop into Forge all the time, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm feeling this idea, and then I get partway through it, and I'm like, fuck. I lost it. I don't like it anymore. This is, I'll pull up this one, and then I think after this I'll go back to the apartment map. All the real Halo fans will recognize this little space from Halo 2. And this is kind of like a textbook example of manipulating player view and in the case of this map, you know, player movement as well. But yeah, wait, we'll get into the map and I'll bake the lighting and then we'll check it out. I meant to ask, but is my audio... Any armors I want to return in Infinite? Yes. I actually have that. I made one of those tier list things. You know, some of the Halo 5 armor gets a lot of hate, but some of it I do like, and I hope to see back in Infinite. I kind of afraid that they'll strip some of it away, which is sad, because, you know, it's like any other armor. Like, there's somebody who likes it. How surprising it might be, there's somebody who likes that armor. But I'll tell you in a second what I want back. So this is that little part from Halo 2, kind of made into an infection map. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on here with limiting player sight. I want this environment to be foggy, smoggy, fire, and you know, dirt and dust. But I want some player manipulation. For example, and you know, this isn't to insult players or call you dumb. Players are easily influenced. If somebody sees these lights, they're in such high contrast to the rest of the map, people are going to go over here. And people are really attracted to doorways, which will lead them right in here. If things go as planned, they'll catch that light, and they'll keep going this way. You're out here, lights being cast, you'll see this. Needler to pick up. Similar story, I'm now standing here, I see light. I'm going to move to the light, right? And this map has like a COD Zombies mechanic where you can buy doors to like access different parts of the map. I actually need to change to the zombie team so I don't have to buy shit. Oh, this is the other zombies. Oh good, this is where we were going to be originally. So again, now we're inside here. Our lights are guiding us through. Um, Zombies can spawn from down here, so you have like this kind of ominous light down here. It's very visibly blocked. Um, you get out here. I had it before where you could kind of see what's happening on this side of the map. But if you're over here, the big eye catcher is up here. We got this crashed phantom. Zombies can actually spawn up here. And this area is green in contrast with a lot of the other spaces in the map, so players are just kind of inclined to traverse through, and you get this, you know, this circular movement as people kind of flow through the different interest areas on the map. People are also really attracted to vertical space. People like high ground, which is fair. So if you have a vertical space, people are going to try to move towards it. Zombies can also spawn in here. So stuff like that. In areas where the map kind of dead, like this is darker, people are going to avoid going over there because they don't know what's there. This is fine because the map kind of ends in this spot anyways, so it's no circumstance. Same with down here, the map dead ends down here. There's nothing to see, there's nothing to do. So you get down here, and that's, you know, the end of the story. People really aren't going to bother coming down here because they can't tell what's down here. So stuff like that. If you ever want very easy, cheap buildings, get ready for the immersion break. Again, emissives. So this is an emissive set to 0. Light bait can be turned off on these, and they just shade flat. They're great for scenarios like this where something's in the distance, it's not high detail, and you want to save performance in pieces when making it. Now conversely, I have one of these buildings does have this one. Because if you notice, if someone's standing here and they look this way, this helps them understand where the sun is coming from. So I let this item still retain its reflective quality on this cylinder and whatnot, so players still have an understanding of where the sun shoots from. It's kind of obvious, you see some orange this direction, but this just further reinforces how light is catching on the map. I could have did a similar thing with these, but I'm trying to conserve budget, so yeah. How much for me to submit it for that sexy pig helmet? Ooh, be 1 billion bread paid directly to my Swiss bank account. Oh, it was a bunch of messages from like Twitter and shit. Yeah, players are kind of like cats, man. You kind of lead them around, if you can help it. That's part of map design, is you want players to like play your map in the way they want to, but a lot of times you just kind of want to force them or like entice them to do certain things. And next time, you know, you're playing a matchmaking map, you can kind of think about these things, how the map is influencing how you move. I'm trying to think. Boneyard. Not Boneyard. What's that map fucking called by Commander Coulson? It's in BTB. Scrapyard or whatever he called it. Scavenger. I think is a really good example of how pathing forces the players to move a certain, because it floats. The map is very flowy. And players are just kind of naturally inclined to follow flowy pathing. It's good for vehicles too. Flowy paths are great. I mean, of all the BTB maps that have vehicles, I think most people can agree that Scavenger has some of the best vehicle pathing. With like Fissure probably having the worst, I would say. Head-to-head maps, or is it too late? I'm pretty sure it's too late. I'm not on that curating team, so I can't say directly. But from what I've heard, they're not really looking for head-to-head maps right now. Okay, we're back in here. I think I'm going to go ahead and try something with that. I was talking about doing a screen in this room. I think I'm going to try something with that. Really quick, what I want to try to get rid of is, you guys can see, I call these seams. This is where light, kind of, you can think of it, it's where the lighting for this piece ends and the lighting for this piece starts. It clashes, it collides, it's ugly looking. There's usually always ways around it, and it's just as simple as making it where there used to be multiple pieces into just one. So in the case of this room, I'm just going to kind of move this over to match that. I'm going to drag this. Highest educational attainment achieved? Achieved? I guess you could... I'm in college now, so I guess I last achieved a high school diploma. I don't know. I don't know what you want me to say there. I'm waiting for a punchline from Enjoy It, bro. Like he's gonna tell me something about myself that I don't know. What did you do? Where'd you get your HDRI? It's HDRI Haven. Sorry. HDRI Haven is where I get my stuff from. Fuck, I want to do that blue screen idea here, but I don't know if I'm 100% sold on it. Like, I might look weird here. I might try... Here, let me try something like this. Or actually, let me get one of these structures. What's it called? Railing... Bar? No. Shielded. Right? Bitch. No. Is it heavy? Yeah. Okay. When do I plan to graduate college? If all goes well, I should graduate with a Bachelor's of the Science in Civil Engineering, with minors in Leadership Communication and Communication Study in spring of 2021. My formal opinion on Stigma. I played Stigma. It's alright. I think, I think Squally never wants to hear about Stigma again. That's what I think. I think if Squally has to hear someone mention Stigma, he might explode. I've been in college for a little longer than most people. I talk about this every now and again, but I work 2 jobs on top of going to school to support myself, so I only take, or in the past, like I only really take maybe 3 classes, like 9 credit hours a semester, since I started college. So it's been kind of a slower journey for me, but I mean, there's worse things. I could be in jail, you know, there's worse things. You guys ever seen those pictures of those houses that have like the light strips on them? I think I'm gonna shoot for something like that. I'm just kind of... Oh, I didn't lose this piece in the wall, did I? Here's a Pro Forger tip. If you're using an emissive, always turn light bake off. The very short answer is that emissives have a tendency to interfere with the cube map on a map. And if I could describe cube map, actually, I could show you really quick. We're on my Spartan, actually. Look at a light, you asshole. No, we're gonna have to go somewhere a little brighter. Okay. So, if you look at the Spartan's visor, you get a reflection. And this reflection is based off the cube map. If you look deep in there, deep in the visor, you can see this stuff. Cube map is an invisible item hidden somewhere on every Forge map that handles how reflections look. If I go to one of my window panes from a certain angle should show it. Maybe not. But basically it handles reflections. And if you have an emissive piece, they have a tendency to take the light they're creating and throw that onto the cube map. So like if I were to make this green, and if we were near that invisible cube map spot, everything on this map would turn fucking green. Uh, like if anything had a reflection, like even the small reflections off these floors, it would be green. And that's just kind of not what you want. So always turn your emissive pieces to 0, or to light bake off, and that'll save you from that problem. Ever tried modeling my own characters? No, I use Blender for renders as a hobby. Unlike people like Rat Dad Joe or Brandon Willie, or like Vort, like those guys who also use Blender. I don't do modeling from scratch. I use kind of like pre-set up assets. So, and like in the past, I've considered kind of learning how to model from scratch, and I just kind of decided against it. Nothing in my hobby immediately says yes. You need to know how to model from scratch. When I'm just doing my Halo renders, it's of no real consequence to me that I can't. So. But I always find it very impressive when people are able to create stuff from scratch like that. It's extremely interesting to me because I for a little bit I was interested in trying to learn. So I watched videos, I watched tutorials, I read articles, and I think it's one of those things. Well, I don't want to be too long-winded, but growing up, my parents always taught me to be what's the word? Not envious. To acknowledge when somebody has a skill or an ability that you don't have. And I am of, and you can disagree if you want, I am of the personal opinion that being an artist is not, you can learn. Yeah, you can learn how to make art. But I think at a core level, art is a skill. It's a natural affinity a person has. And to be able to look at a Blender cube, the default cube, and turn that shit into like a person, or even like into a lamp. People just take the cube and make it into random stuff. That you have to have that skill. That's not something that you can learn how to use Blender. You can learn how to click the buttons to make the thing look a certain way. But I think to be able just to hop on and say, all right, I'm making a person in Blender today, and just hash that shit out, like that's a skill. Absolutely no doubt. And I mean that as an engineering student, I have the stigma of people kind of think I always look down on art majors and whatnot. But some of that shit I can't do, and I'll be the first to tell you that is just a God-given ability that I do not have. I'm sure you could, Spartan. People give me compliments a lot, and I'm not trying to brag, but people give me compliments, and I usually tell people, I'm like, hey, like, I'm an engineer. I just learned how to make Blender do the hard work for me. I didn't really do anything in particular. I just kind of, spent a lot of time learning how to make Blender do all the tough shit. And then I'm able to produce work that looks how it does. And if I feel if I can learn to do it, chances are most people could. Kind of the opposite. It's like the opposite of modeling. Like, I know how to click the buttons in Blender to get good stuff. No amount of button clicking is gonna get me like Vork did Samus modeled from scratch. Like, I click buttons all fucking day. I'm not gonna get that type of end result. It is what it is, and I'm cool with that. I've got no reservations about, I can't model. But definitely just rendering, I think, is something anybody could pick up as a hobby. I'm trying to decide what I want. I need something else in this room. Like, I wanted a window here, but that's not going to happen because you'll be able to see the arcade game back there. This says enable DVR. I hope that doesn't mean that I hope that doesn't mean that this has been recording to my hard drive this whole time. I'm actually gonna take a second really quick and I'm gonna make sure that isn't the case. Like, I'm cool if YouTube saves the stream so people can access it later, but I don't want all this shit on my fucking an hour of footage on my hard drive. Painting, maybe, yeah. I mean, again, and I say people, you are welcome to disagree with me if you want, but I think part of that is just a skill that you have. It's that you're born with it, in a way. I'm looking for fucking windows. Where are they? Oh, here they are. I need a model of the Forerunner library. I made one. Download for you. A Forerunner library? Like the location? You said H2A. Forerunner library. I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about. I don't like this. I don't like how that looks. I want something kind of chic, like sleek. I want something cool. What goes inside fucking houses? Do you guys live in houses? You guys know what people do inside their houses? Let's go ahead and just hash out a railing really quick while I'm sitting around shooting the shit. Where is the grid piece? Is it in props? There it is. The grid is really good if you want to do glass. On the low. Grid is great for glass. It's nice. It's like the thinnest object you can get in Forge. It's also very fucking hard to see. So, good luck working with it is the other thing. You gotta find a color that's visible in the space you're in. I think it's always perfectly transparent on one side. Are traps gay? I mean, I don't know. I think it depends on the perspective. Phantom is flying backwards where Arbiter... Oh! Yeah, cool, man. I mean... I'm getting a lot of questions. I don't know if traps are gay. I think it depends on however you want to feel about it. I don't know enough about traps to have an opinion. Some people feel it's a slur. I don't know if I could consider it a slur. And I might be wrong about that. Someone's gonna fucking like clip this stream and be like, "Oh yeah, send Hyperion the transphobe," or whatever they want to say about me. But I don't necessarily think it's a slur. Not if you have your socks on. Okay. Then we come to a conclusion. I think it's... I mean, if it's what you're into, then that's you. You know? If you're into guys who look like girls, but who aren't actually girls, you know, that's you. Alright, here's my definitive statement. And someone can clip this, and you can put this on the internet. I don't have the time to fucking care if you like guys who look like girls, if you like girls who look like guys, if you like guys who were girls, girls who were guys, who, you know, it's inconsequential to me. Your decision on who you want to fuck has nothing to do with me. For the time being, I'm more concerned about important shit like climate change and like water resources. When we get that figured out, then yeah, we can talk about your sex habits. But until then, I've got more important shit to worry about. So you fuck whoever you want to fuck as long as they are a consenting human adult. And that's it. Signed to send Hyperion. So, I hate pedophiles. Segue there. What do I want to put here? The fuck do I want to put there? Let's just do the staircase for the time being, and then I'll come back to it. Let me go back up the list. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want to share that with me, that'd be awesome. You don't have to. Don't feel inclined to. But yeah, if you want to, that'd be awesome. I would very much appreciate that. And of course, I'd give you the credit because I mean, you fucking made it. We just had that whole conversation about how I could make some shit like that. So, um, by all means. How do I want to do this? I think I'm gonna do like a Z shaped staircase here. I hate how the staircases are organized. It's just streaming at a weird point. I don't know how far back you came from, but I was just spitting some knowledge on on my opinions. Where the fuck is what I need to get out of this room so I can see the actual shapes. I saw a different question too. What type of map you find easiest to make, and what other type is your favorite to make? The easiest type of map to make is one that has no game type obligation. If I can just make a map and have it be about nothing, like this house map that I'm working on. One of my most downloaded maps is a map about nothing. It's just an apartment. And it's easy to forge. I don't have to follow matchmaking rules. I don't have to, worry about performance typically. I don't have to worry about scale or, balance is a big thing. Ask any forger. The last thing they want to do is balance a fucking map. So yeah, I'd probably say maps about nothing are the easiest to make. Was that the question, or did I answer the right thing? What type is my favorite? Probably I really like when I get a 4v4 that works out really well. I really enjoy conceptualizing a 4v4 map, having it be enjoyable, balanced. I guess you could say any core map. And if my maps in matchmaking were all about competitive game types. So I have a background in that, and it's just that was what I was expressly into. That's kind of like my expertise area. You can almost think of it like, if you have questions about 4v4 maps, you could probably ask me because I know a thing or two. What most challenging thing done in Forge? Most challenging. I mentioned I have 2 maps in matchmaking, and it's not easy doing that. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of play testing, it's a lot of revision. I'm sure the forgers in the room understand that it's very easy to get attached to a map early on, and once you do, you don't want to change that shit. You're like, this is my map, I like how it looks, green corner looks awesome. So it's hard, you go into a play test very confident, and this wasn't a map I did for matchmaking, but Ready Up Live once played one of my puzzle maps, and they broke out of it on stream. That was devastating for me, because I had put all this time and effort into making the map, and then within a couple minutes time, they had effectively ruined it. So, it's hard getting a map tested and revised and stuff like that. But yeah, I would say probably hardest thing I did in Forge was getting my maps matchmaking, not just ready but accepted into matchmaking was quite the feat for me, and I'm proud of it twice over. And I can't just take credit for that on my own, because a lot of people are involved with getting a map into matchmaking. I have to thank Max Extra and Duke of Merle, who were the forefathers of the extermination game mode. My map was one of the launch maps for that game type, and that became a matchmaking playlist, and my map was in there as one of the initial maps as an extermination map. It's in a ranked playlist. It's big for a forger. But that wasn't without people. Same with Cyberside. I'd be a complete dickhead to not give Blaze his due, because he did the design for the layout, and I did the art and the aesthetic and that stuff. So That's important. I don't want to downplay those guys' contributions because I mean it's not a one man show. No map ever is. Some forgers kind of have cult personalities where they think everything they do is like, oh, I'm like the motherfucker who made it, you know. But people test it, people give feedback, people make revisions. There's always a lot of people involved with a map breaching a certain status. Elites or brutes? I gotta vote elites. Just cause I really liked the brute thing in Halo 2. Brutes were kind of given this role as like, how do I describe it? I don't want to be too long-winded. I don't want to late night Halo you guys. Halo 2 did an amazing job of making the Covenant human. And having the brutes kind of come in and be the antagonists for the elites made the elites very relatable, I think. It was a great narrative element for making the elites likable. Because in Halo CE, they just barbled fucking nonsense and blew up to kill you. So, I mean, in a very short amount of game time, elites became the thing, you know. Sally's prepared to get your booty hole destroyed with the grab hammer. Hammer's alright. Here's the thing. Do you think the grab hammer is exclusively a brute thing? Like, the elites could have had grab hammers. Anybody. Fucking the humans, when you think about it, like, they could have added the grab hammer as a human weapon. And I wouldn't have blinked. Would you have blinked an eye if they did it right? Probably not. I mean, we associate the grab hammer with brutes because Tartarus, and that's how it was introduced. But did it have to be that way? No, not really. I'm going to do the shooting range this other direction because I realize that this is cut into that window space. I don't think the brutes are bad. I think they were not done justice in Halo 3. Does anybody disagree with that? Like, the brutes were just dropped off the fucking cliff in Halo 3. They're like, okay, yeah, now you fight brutes. And they like roar when you break their shields. But that was it. Like, and this is one of my big problems with Halo 3 in general. All forms of character development just fucking stop. Like, Bungie was like, fuck it. The characters are done having personalities. All of them. Does anybody argue with that? Think really hard about how the characters acted in Halo CE and Halo 2. And then think about how they acted in Halo 3. I'm just saying. That's just, that's my 2 cents. One of Halo 3's biggest narrative shortcomings is that it just completely dropped the characters off a cliff. The brutes kind of had this chance to, like, you would get to see where the brutes, like, decide, like, oh, are we going to stick with the Covenant, like, what do we get from this, we're trying to stick to people, but now they're like, oh, brutes are the bad guys, elites are the good guys, haha. And that was it. That was the end of the story. So, let's switch gears to machinima. What are some things people do in their machinimas that really peeve you? You have no control of the camera. Yeah. I'm trying to, like, see if I can think of one really big one, like a big thing people do in machinima that I don't like. There's a couple. This is a good question. I'm just trying to think really hard about what I want to say. I don't like when people try to rip off the red versus blue formula of comedy. And this is not directly related, but preface. I'm an adult now. A lot of Halo machinimas kind of rely on, like, what I consider middle school humor. Like, it's like, oh, haha, girl, vagina, my dick cum, haha, fucking, words that I shouldn't say on stream because I might get accused of something. Um, and it just doesn't hit with me anymore. Like, yeah, it was funny when I was, in middle school, but I'm not anymore. It doesn't hit. So when the humor is really immature, it misses me. Um, when people, oh, here's a big one. For the love of fuck, okay? Listen to me talk. You guys have been listening to me talk all fucking night. Do you want me, Ascent Hyperion, you want me voicing your 7'9" gigantic fucking altered super soldier? No, I don't have the voice for it. I don't have the presence to be a veteran, genetically altered super soldier. I'm not the guy. And I'm cool with admitting that's fine. But too often, people, when they're doing their castings for Machinima, they're like, yeah, my buddy fucking Nicholas, who sounds like this, is somehow like the big bad Spartan 3 who's ripping elite heads off and drinking fucking swarmer blood. Like, it's just not, it's immersion breaking. It's not believable. And it goes, this is often a problem with female voice actors too, is that they're so hard to get, people settle. And, I'm not talking about the quality of the voice actor. I'm not saying people who sound like me or, that sound young are bad voice actors. I'm saying, you don't fit the part. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with admitting that. Is anybody hurt by that statement? No. But your project is going to suffer if, you're casting these people who just don't match. And I think too many directors are scared to admit that sometimes. And, maybe that's just my 2 cents, my opinion. But yeah, if I turn on a Machinima and the main character who's supposed to be like a full-fledged soldier adult sounds like me, I'm detached from the story now because it just doesn't hit like it could. And if you look at my Machinima, the ones that like Huntress and Lineage, that are meant to be cinematic in their castings, I have people who are mature in their presence, who carry themselves with a canter that is of an adult, of a professional. As for, my comedy shit, I'm like, hey guys, I put a message in my Discord and I'm like, alright, anybody wanna, we're doing a fucking Machinima tonight, you guys wanna hop in? And then that's it, that's the end of the conversation. And then whoever says yes, we do it. Because it's casual, it is what it is. So, good question. Hopefully that wasn't too much of an over explanation. My 2 big Machinima peeves is immaturity and then voice casting being weird. Do I ever wish playable elites? Yeah. Oh, definitely, yes. And I think, you could probably add playable elites to my wish list for Halo Infinite. I'm indifferent about it. I never really played Elite anyways. So I'm not really in the hashtag Sangheili gang or whatever the fuck. But I'm all about, I talked about this with Forge. You want to give me extra tools? You're gonna think I'm gonna complain? No. I'll take anything you give me. And I think playable elites falls into that category where it's like, yeah, man, sure, why not? Why the hell not? With that premise, I don't understand why they weren't in Halo 5. People said, like, oh, it's for competitive, but, like, why not in Reach? You could, force a mode to be Spartan. Why not in Halo 5? And then, we don't need to get into Halo 5 politics right now, but that's just an example. Was there any particular reason not to include them? Not from that standpoint, but I'm sure there were design limitations and time constraints and yada yada, etc., etc. So, I get it. But yeah, hopefully Halo Infinite will have playable elites. That'd be pretty cool. Pretty Gucci. This is, I'm going to put it in this way. I kind of feel bad. The guy who had suggested I do the shooting range, I think, had to go to sleep. But, it's fine. Maybe they'll come back and watch it in the morning. I don't know. Sorry, I gotta. Somebody subscribed on YouTube, but their username had Bill in it, and I thought YouTube was sending me an email about a bill. And I was like, why the fuck are you guys billing me? I should be billing you. Thank you. I don't know if Over the Bill is watching right now, but thank you for subscribing. Now we can say I thanked you on stream, and we'll call it even from there. We're gonna go for some contrast in here. I think I've never been to a shooting range, so maybe someone who has can correct me, but I feel like whenever I've seen pictures or videos of them, they're kind of on a decline down the range, right? I'm not crazy. Like, that's a real thing. They decline towards the end. Is it to keep... I imagine, like, the shells will roll down to one end, so it's easier to clean. I don't know. This current machinima, I've been posting about it. I had a long discussion with the director about getting new voice actors because most... Yeah, I mean, that's real. And, you know, I don't know. It's hard. I'm sure, I mean, you probably know that it was hard to tell someone to recast. I mean, if you're not paying people... Here's the other thing, too, and this is going to be a little hypocritical of me. But these are, you know, volunteer projects. At the end of the day, you get what you get. You don't throw a fit. You're not paying these people. They're giving you their time and their effort for free. So you probably shouldn't be an asshole about it, but, you know, you have the ability to directly influence. This is this fucking decline looks massive. Customization, good idea for future games, like having different affected with helmet. Yeah, man. Halo 2 Anniversary and Halo 4 had the right idea. Take Halo 2 Anniversary's model, give it the Halo 4 like flood arm, maybe make it more into a blade and not a nub, and I think you're on the right track. The infected flood models were amazing. A great expansion to the infection game mode. If you can turn them on and off, that's even better. That's great for custom game. I think that was part of the problem in Halo 4 is that, like, infection had to have the infected forms. So, like, you'd be playing teacher, but the teacher is like some fucking monster. So, immersion, you know. Immersion is suffering. But yeah, if it's like options you can disable, again, why not? Why not? Who's gonna be like, I don't want to be able to make my guy infected. Who's gonna get on that fucking soapbox? Somebody probably, but nobody relevant, I'd imagine. Nobody worth listening to, at least. Anybody who would tell you a game shouldn't have additional features, probably not worth listening to. A little hypocritical of me, because I was really on the easy Forge bandwagon for a while, but I've kind of loosened up a little bit on that. Good machinima that I watched. Yo, Bite-Sized Tuna's Escape. I don't think I've, like... It's been a little minute since I, like, just kind of thoroughly enjoyed watching a machinima. Like, casually like that. You know, I watch a lot of stuff that's maybe supposed to be a little more serious, or however you want to think about, like, cinematic stuff. But, Escape was just, like, a really good example of, like, we're gonna make a little funny skit, and, you know, that's the end of the story. There's nothing else to it. It's just, you know, it's short and sweet to the point. And it's got, like, the timing was good, too. I really enjoyed how it was all put together. There was something else recently, too, but I forget. When you realize some poor animator had to retangent motion tracking markers on at least for his toothy fingers. Facial animation. What? Toothy fingers? What are you talking about, Ball? I don't know anything about toothy fingers. I don't like the lighting in here right now. Oh, you know what we're gonna do though? Do I have a small breaker up here? Structures. What am I looking for? Accent. No. Railing, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pro Forge tip, the railing items are great. Whoever was in charge of putting the railing items in was really onto something, because they're great as everything except railing. They're mandibles. I can't imagine. I'm sure, like, if you work in the industry, you've probably messed with, something just as weird, if not weirder. But just as like not someone who isn't in the industry, I'd imagine it'd be very strange to get up and like make an elite work as a walking, breathing thing. Where the? I swear to God. Oh, it's in cover. Solid, right? Yeah, cool. Ever use mods for machine playtesting or anything, or Halo? Use a few Halo formats. No, I've actually never modded Halo at all. Just never really had a need to. Um, or a need or a desire, either, to mod Halo for any particular reason. I try to do a lot of my. People kind of assume because I do Blender, I include a lot of animation in my machinima, but I don't. I'm actually not an animator. I do a lot of my stuff in game just because it's easier for me. Um, I try to arrange my stuff so like if I can't pull it off in game, and if I can't pull it off, um, easily in Blender, then I just don't bother. Change the size of players. No, I've just never. I can accomplish. Now I edit a lot. I can edit like a motherfucker. No, some people are better, of course, but I do a lot of editing in post to make things look and appear a certain way. But yeah, never mods. Mocap based stuff. Yeah, RT3. I think recently was fucking with mocap stuff. Which is kind of cool. If you do it, you're gonna get people who call you lazy, and I don't know. You could probably just take that at face value for whatever it's worth. It's probably nothing worth worrying about. There's a lot of, I don't know. Sometimes people have like a lot of petty jealousy with what they do. Um, I could understand how someone who hand animates would be like a little salty towards mocap, but whatever. We're making Halo fucking machinima. Like, it's only serious to a certain degree. No, I didn't know that. It's pretty cool. Cool little gamer fact. Gamer fact 106. Master Chief's suit allows him to pee. That's all. That's the story. That's the gamer fact. And that's the motherfucking T. I don't like how this... Maybe I should make those flush. Are these different colors? Is that what it is? Primary, secondary. Ah, maybe. Yeah, that's what's fucking going on. And what color are you? What? Why can I still see this then? That shouldn't be the case at all. You bitch. Sorry, I'm shit talking my pieces now. We're in peak forger mode. We're in the end forge right now. I think I'm gonna make this wall blue. I associate light blue with shooting ranges. Is that weird? Can anybody else back me up on that? Can somebody please validate my biases? Shooting ranges have light blue walls, right? Uh-oh. We've got a quality warning. We're dropping frames. What does it say on OBS? Oh, we're fine. OBS be like, hello? You are down below 1 kilobyte. Your stream connection is bad. Yeah. Is it light blue that I want, or is it the other one? I think it's just light blues I'm going to use. I can't think of that machinima that I watched not too long ago that I thought was really good. It's going to bother me all day. I can't remember what it was. This might be too... We're going to see when it bakes. It might be too goofy. Energy. Engaged. See, we're getting our seams here. What is this? 64? Really quick, just hang with me for a second. I'm going to see what this enable DVR option. DVR feature allows your viewers to pause, rewind, and continue during the event once it resumes. Oh. Okay. I was just making sure enabling DVR didn't make it so like this shit was saving to my hard drive. Do you think Halo 5 Forge is too difficult for a casual player? No. No, I do not. And here's the thing. Actually, let's make a point. I'm going to reiterate. I have 2 maps in matchmaking. I have curated just a rough estimate of like maybe 5 other maps that have entered matchmaking. I've been involved with matchmaking playlists. So you could, and that's not to brag, but that's to say you could consider me a, an experienced forger. I'm going to show you like the first map that I made, right? We'll consider this the first map, I really worked on. And this is just to prove a point that anybody can use this shit. If you just take the time to do, and then to learn it is all it takes. And if you're the type of person who you go into Forge and you're like, I just want to throw down mongoose shit and drive around and blow my friends up. I mean, yeah, you can still do that. But I think Halo 5 has made it easier to be a quote-unquote good forger than any other forge before. So, just to iterate my point, I'm going to load up this old map of mine, and we're going to look at, how far things have changed and come. Yeah, I don't even think you don't have to practice as hard as some people like to think. Or like some people convince themselves. Like, is it easy peasy lemon squeezy? Probably not. Hello? First things first, we have to find the map. This might be glitched. Hello? Oh, here we go. Oh, never mind. This isn't one of the oldest. Why did it load like this? This is still kind of old. But this is just fucking trees and shit. There's nothing important about this. Oh yeah, this isn't my oldest map. But like that stupid bullshit like this. But I mean, this just looks goofy. This is something you would see from it. Like, look how we talked about scale earlier. Look how big everything is. I mean, this room is massive. And this was an early map of mine. Like, this just looks... it just looks goofy in here. So, I mean, this is not what you would consider impressive. But everybody starts somewhere. You know, this is funny to see because look, yeah, I look. Is this? Oh, this is 48 by 48. I was gonna say, is this 64 by 64? Because we talked about that. We lit up a different one. But yeah, I don't think it's too hard for a casual person to use. I think if you just sit down and play with just get used to the controls, play around with them, make some garbage. You know, you gotta make some bad shit first before you make anything good. I think people kind of are too harsh on themselves and like, I have to have a perfect map the first time, or Forge Labs is gonna come to my house and beat my ass. You know, it's just not the case. You saw I had like 30 pages of maps. You know, I have maybe 20 maps total published. You know, 5 of which are probably popular within reason. It all depends on what you're looking to get out of it, and you've got to put time into it. If you want Forge to continue to produce as good of the stuff that it has, it can't downgrade. If Forge downgrades, you're just not going to get the same quality that we've got in Halo 5. So it's got to stay the same or go up, and I think people just got to take the time to learn it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check it out in a second. How did me and Aaron go about making the Huntress and Viper soundtracks? It's a good story. And it'll probably be, yeah, I'll cap with this story. This is the one I really wanted to show. When I started forging, I guess I was really in love with 48 by 48. This was supposed to be a 4v4. I don't know if any of like my old Forge buddies are still watching, or if any like really, matchmaking oriented forgers are still hanging out, but I'm sure they could just immediately see this was supposed to be a 4v4 map, right? Just look, I mean, this is look how ridiculously massive everything is. Nothing is like painted interesting, like the lights suck. You'll notice, all my lights, I talked earlier about how my lights now don't come from the light pieces. They come, I put them where they fit best. On this map, they're up there. That's old logic. Why do I have a saw down here in like an inaccessible part of the map? This is the only way to get there. This is like a no-no. This is a map no-no. This fucking loud thing. I don't want to hear that anymore. It's just so open. There's no vertical. This is just all one big flat thing. Then you go up this massive ramp. And there's a fucking plasma caster up here. And just look at the scale. Again, it's huge. So I started with stuff like this on Halo 5. And I ended, or, currently I'm at a point where I have maps in matchmaking, and I can talk about quality, and I can teach other people how to forge, so anybody can do it, You just gotta take time. Looking at this is so funny. What does this even say? Caution. This is the caution area. Oh, whoa, what the? Halo 5 type beat. Is that supposed to do that? Or is it just when I move? Okay. Okay, yeah. Alright. And I think I'll end on a more recent map, and then I'll answer the last of the questions. Grumpy asked how me and Aaron went about making the music for Huntress and Viper. The more accurate way to have worded the question would have been, how did Aaron make the music? And what did you say about it? Because how it works is that I kind of talk to Aaron. For those who don't know, with my machinima, a lot of them have original soundtracks, completely made from scratch by Aaron Weatherford. And often the way it works, I kind of give Aaron a layout of the scene. I do some rough filming, some rough editing, and I pass it off to him. And I'm like, all right, well, you go ahead and score it. I need it to kind of start here and be a little more quiet so we can hear this stuff here. And then he goes at it. He has me listen to it. I play it, and I'm like, I like that, or I don't. Usually, I like it. Whatever Aaron makes, chances are I like it. Because the guy, he's just talented. He knows how to score a scene, where to put emotion. Um, but there are other times where I'm like, hey, Aaron, I don't, this sounds like, you know, this sounds like. There was one time in I think in Lineage, he was doing a track, and I was like, this sounds like the Jaws theme. And he was like, he listened to it again, and he's like, oh shit, you're right, this is just the Jaws theme, so we had to like redo it. Um, but otherwise, yeah, Aaron kind of goes at it. For Viper, Aaron, I gave him a bunch of like source material because Viper's very ethnic. There's a lot of Hispanic influence, a lot of Spanish influence in Viper, and within being respectful and being reason, because I'm not Hispanic. I'm a minority, but I'm not that minority. So I still want to be respectful to the culture. I kind of gave Aaron, I'm like, hey, I want a lot of Latin guitar, and I want some drums that do like how they have. Um, and he kind of took that material, chewed on it for a bit, and we were kind of able to hash out something that sounded extremely authentic. Uh, and I think Aaron, he's just capable. Aaron, he's just a great guy. Um, he's got abilities and skills, and he carries that weight, and I just kind of hang out and listen and and watch as he does it sometimes. Um, but yeah, I think there was one after that. With Eevee. Oh yeah. So Viper has animation in it by me. It's kind of like a grueling process, and I want to do it within reason and limit. Um, but I am using Eevee to do animations for Viper, so I'm familiar with Eevee. I want to show you guys my train that goes over on this map. Um, does Aaron take commissions? Generally, no. Aaron kind of does volunteer work. Now it depends on, if he's interested in the project or not. It's important to let him have his creative freedom. Aaron makes a certain type of music, and if it's not what you're looking for, it's just not what you're looking for. I think Mateo Arch tried to approach him about doing music for Seraph, and they just had creative differences on what the music was going to sound like. And then, that's fine. It's similar to the voice actor situation. If you're going to do it, get the right person for your project, but also be understanding that it's volunteer. And, you get what you get. So, unless you're going to pay somebody. Then you pay somebody, then you probably ask for whatever the fuck you want to ask for. But, yeah. Well, what's after that? Where did the name of Ascend Hyperion come from? Ascend Hyperion, way back in the 360 days. Your boy that you're talking to right now was a clan kid. And I wasn't just any clan kid, I was a clan leader. So back in Halo 3, me and some buddies from school started a clan. It was initially called Fatal Fear. And then after we figured out there were a billion fucking clans named Fatal Fear, we kind of switched it up eventually years later to Ascend. And the gimmick with Ascend is that everybody's name was based off like a figure in Greek mythology. So there are a bunch of us. There's like Ascend Poseidon, Ascend Hades, Ascend Ares, and I was Ascend Hyperion. Now, when I went to college, when I first left for college, I completely dropped Xbox. So I didn't have an Xbox One, and I didn't even bring my Xbox 360 to college with me. I left it with my girlfriend. So I kind of took a hiatus from Xbox for a bit, and by the time I came back, Ascend was long gone. Like, there was nobody left in the clan. It was just me, and I kept the name because I like the name outside of the clan affiliation. I just like Ascend Hyperion, and I was gonna change it, and then I started making YouTube content. I started making Forge maps, and my Forge maps kind of started getting recognized as a Forge personality, and then I was like, well, fuck, I'm Ascend Hyperion for the rest of forever now, which is fine. I don't care. I think at the least it's, unique. It's kind of lengthy, but how many other Ascend Hyperions are there? Probably none. So yeah, it does me justice in the search algorithms. But yeah, I did clan stuff before raids so when I was doing clan stuff, it was like we challenged the clan to a 4v4 match, like on, MLG settings. Not a forge map, like a default map, like fucking Sanctuary or whatever. So we did stuff like that. And we did a lot of clan battles. If you guys know Rami, actually, who's a pro player now, Rami was actually in our clan in Halo 4 for just a little bit, for a couple weeks. That's always something fun to talk about, is that we had a pro player in our clan. I doubt he remembers or cares, but I do. So, I said that was going to be my last map, but I want to show you guys one of my... I really like the Vex stuff from Destiny. The Vex are like my favorite little gimmick. So I have a decent chunk of Vex maps, and I'm just this is one I was working on. And my forgers can try to guess what canvas this map is made on. If anybody in the chat wants to wager a guess, I'll kind of run around and look around, and you guys can try to figure out what canvas we're on. Let me go over here a ways. This is also a map I don't think I ever really released. The fucking Vex Milk Waterfall. Oh, Brewski's in here. Bruce, you're in here like in the last 30 seconds of the stream, just about. But yeah, this is the last Vex map I did. Kind of like, I did the one, I thought it would be my last, but then I changed my mind, and now this one is the last one. But it's a lot more Thuddle. He says it's in space. So let's actually, I'll show you something. Where's my little control? This is Tidal. That sun is fake. This is probably the only time I have ever used the artificial sun setting to fake a sun. That's a light over there. Yeah, this is on Tidal. On Tidal's sunset setting, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Paradise. With a bunch of filtering going on. So the blue-green, and then I'm really manipulating the fog to change colors on this map. Amongst other things. But yeah, so then just kind of reinforcing the fake sun, so I have like some light rays that shine through over here. And because I talked about, this goes back to the beginning of the stream, I talked about how Tidal, its actual sun is not where light comes from on the map. So like on Tidal, the sunset is over there, but the thing that actually makes sunlight is like somewhere fucking else, like out that direction. It's even worse on like the daytime, because the daytime setting, the sun is like over here, but the light is over there somewhere. It's ridiculous. But yeah. That about does it, boys. I know we started working on the shooting range in that apartment map, and then I got distracted and we went around a couple different maps, but I gotta go pick up the lady from work. It's been cool hanging out, answering questions. When I get some free time, I'll probably do more live streams where I talk about Forge and Machinima and just whatever. You guys have questions about it, it's fun, and if you like listening, that's cool too. Sorry, Bruce, you kind of came in at the very end here. I've been going for about 2 hours. Actually, 2 hours and about 60 seconds. So. Yeah, thank you guys for hanging out. Much appreciated. You guys are awesome. I'll go ahead and do a cold end on the stream here. And you guys take it easy tonight. Love you.